hopefully in person next time. Always enjoy coming down to the southwest. Do enjoy holidays on the North Devon coast. So hopefully next time we'll see each other in person. Thanks ever so much for taking the time out this afternoon to attend. And thanks to Karen for putting on what I think is a great meeting today. We've got a few of our business partners in, as Karen says, who are all so invested in our association and do so much for us. And I think the collective expertise and guidance and support that they're all able to provide us is absolutely invaluable. So thanks to everyone for joining us. I really just wanted to take this opportunity to provide you with a bit of an update on some of the initiatives that we are currently working on, currently focusing on from HQ for the association nationally. So I'll just run through a few of those highlights with you now. And of course, I'd absolutely welcome the opportunity to answer any questions, take any feedback that you may have for us as well. So, Karen, I think I've got through to 2 o'clock. Is that right? So, did you give me till 2? Great. So I'll run through the presentation, hopefully within about 10 minutes, and then most importantly, that leaves then time for questions and for feedback from yourselves, because that's really important to me to be able to hear what you've got to say. So you may remember the back end of 2022, we undertook a really comprehensive member survey working with our partners at Players First. We had over 550 responses from our members, so thank you to all of you that took part. That enabled us to really understand what are our members looking for from us as an association, and then how can we prioritise those objectives into our 3-year strategic plan, which we produced shortly after the survey was published. That strategic plan is available in full in the members hub of the website, so do take the time to have a look in there. You know, that's what we are doing to serve your needs. Everything we do is about serving the needs of our members, quite rightly, and it's good for you to understand what it is we're setting out to do for you. So we categorized our focus points in 5 key areas. I'm just going to share with you some of those initiatives that we're covering. So the first one was to improve the provision of day-to-day technical and operational support services. So a couple of initiatives that we're focusing on in that area at the moment. I'm really pleased to say, and it's been a bit of a bugbear of mine for a couple of years now, is that we have very recently relaunched the online members information hub and help desk. So it's a wealth of documentation, links and guidance on all aspects of golf club management, operationally and technically. It's a tool that many of our members really enjoy doing. We recognise that it was out of date. So it was originally launched about 15 years ago. So we had some work to do to make sure that the information hub was up to date, covering the key aspects that you're really looking for in terms of support and knowledge right now in your roles. So we've just relaunched the information hub just a few weeks ago now. We went through a comprehensive research phase of not only producing documents and guidance ourselves internally, but more importantly, reaching out to our business partnership network of over 30 businesses that we work with to make sure that we're signposting you to the highest quality, most up-to-date, most relevant information and guidance on all aspects of golf club management. It's not about the GCMA and the team at HQ being the experts on everything. We're not, and we never intend to be or plan to be. Our job is to make sure we're working with the experts in all of those fields, and we're able to signpost you to the right information whenever you need it. We are promoting quite regularly now through GCMA Weekly the use of the information hub, and we signpost you to some useful guidance every week through the weekly newsletter. Do take the time to have a look in there. If ever there's anything you can't find, you know, if you've been asked to do a particular project or you're just needing to upskill in a certain area and you can't find what you're looking for in the information hub, please just get in touch, and someone in the team will be really pleased to hear from you, and our job will be to go and find that information for you. One of the most important aspects of the information hub, with it being recently updated, is the considerable amount of information we've got in there now and resources on sustainability. The RNA, one of the organisations, of course, that have supported us with that. There's a whole wealth of information and guidance on all things sustainability. It came out as the #1 topic for you as golf club managers that you're looking for in terms of guidance, knowledge, and support. So that's why we made it a key focus of the new information hub. So some great resources in there, and hopefully you'll find them of use. Another initiative in that space of providing you with operational and technical expertise is our new finance helpline. So again, just looking at the survey and finding out from you as members what it is you're looking for from us. One of the top 5 subjects that you said you were looking for support on was finance and accounts. So we're now working with a fantastic company called Tee 2 Green Accountancy. They're based up in the Northwest, but work nationwide. They now provide GCMA members with a free finance and accounts helpline. So like we already do with employment law through Gap HR, we now do that in the finance space as well. The information of the helpline is all available on the website. At any point, if you've got any questions about VAT or your P&L management or cash flow, give the guys at Tee 2 Green Accountancy a call. They'd be delighted to hear from you. And it's already being really, really well used by our members, and the feedback has been fantastic. So another great new benefit for you there, and hopefully responding to those member demands around technical and operational support that you're looking for from us. The next area of focus for us, again, just leaning on what you've asked us to do, is to enhance our profile as an association and recognition of the GCMA, but more importantly, not just the profile and recognition of us as an association, but for me, it's really important that we actually grow the profile and recognition of you, of golf club managers. I think, you know, what golf club managers do on a day-to-day basis in golf clubs is desperately under-recognised within the industry. It's something that I've been working really hard to promote, and my team have been working really hard to promote over the last few years, working with all of our fellow industry bodies to do that. And I'm really pleased to say that, you know, that seat at the table we have is being really well used. We're making sure our voice is heard. We're making sure that we're really involved as an association in some of those key initiatives across the industry. So one of those that we've recently worked on, and I was really delighted to have been invited by England Golf to take part in the creation and publication of their new governance guide and golf club governance toolkit. So that was launched last year. It's the new version of their toolkit. It's a fantastic guidebook. It isn't just a one-size-fits-all guidebook on here's how your golf club should run. It's a fantastic wealth of resources, step-by-step guide for golf clubs to follow and look at all the considerations and points that your golf club should be looking at when considering your governance structure, your personnel structure, your leadership models, whether or not you have a board of directors or a committee, the type of employment model you might want to look at for your golf club management team. So it's a fantastic guidebook, a whole wealth of resources, and we were delighted to have been invited by England Golf to collaborate with them on that. And our part in that was to make sure that the golf club manager and the employed management team at a golf club are absolutely front and centre of any governance structure in a golf club. And I think that's what we've done with this guide. We followed that up with a series of roadshow events throughout February. So we visited 6 venues through February with England Golf, with Players First, with Jerry Kilby from Candor Golf as well, and delivered a series of roadshow events where we presented to not only golf club managers, but just as importantly, having golf club chairman, committee members in the room as well. So we're really able to share best practice, share the guidance and the tools that are available through the governance guide and how clubs can utilise those in their golf clubs. So through the course of the month, we presented to nearly 400 people representing over 250 clubs across the UK, across England. So across that time, we've hopefully influenced nearly 20% of clubs in the country in a very short space of time. And hopefully if every one of those clubs takes 2 or 3 points away to improve their governance and leadership structures at their golf clubs, that will help the long-term benefit of those clubs and the golf club managers and employed management teams as well. So a good piece of work, and one that we really enjoyed being involved in. Next on our list of priorities, and again, just focusing on member services, is and probably most relevant for today is developing and improving educational and professional development content at regional meetings. So as we already spoke about, just as we were getting the meeting started today, so important for us to make sure that the service we're offering you as members at a regional level is what you're looking for. Regional membership is one of our core strengths, that community aspect, giving you the ability to connect with other GCMA members and golf club managers locally within your region, provide you with that network, that community, and as well as that, providing you with educational and professional development opportunities at regional meetings. So I think this sort of thing, exactly what Karen's done with the session today, bringing in expert speakers, talking about the topics that are most important to you. So, you know, we've got sustainability on the agenda today. We've got member retention on the agenda today. You know, they're two of the most relevant topics right now for golf clubs. So great to see that on the agenda. Anything you'd like to see at regional meetings that will encourage you to come along, perhaps encourage you to bring someone along from your team, please let us know. Please let us know, or please let Karen know, and we can make sure we work to serve that. Something else that's coming out quite strongly through regional meetings and working really well is peer-to-peer support as well. So if you've got a case study, if you've got a story about something you've done at your golf club that you think would benefit your colleagues, and you'd like to share that case study, share that story, share your learnings and experiences, please let us know, because we're really encouraging members to get involved and really sort of boost that peer-to-peer learning. It worked really well at conference in November. If any of you went to conference, a number of the breakout sessions that we ran were run by GCMA members to really enhance that peer-to-peer learning opportunity. So do let us know if there's something you'd like to share and get involved with regional meetings. We'd love to hear from you. So the next one is to develop and improve the GCMA Business Partnership Network. So it was feedback I had quite strongly when I first joined sort of 3.5 years ago now, that it was felt that the Business Partnership Network from a member's perspective was very much there for businesses to come in and deliver sales pitches at regional meetings. And of course, that's not why you go along to a regional meeting. You go along for insights and knowledge and learning. And equally from the Business Partnership Network, a number of the businesses we were working with not really feeling like they were getting value. So we've worked really hard over the last few years to move that forward, to make sure that we're giving our business partners the benefits they're looking for, and equally as importantly, making sure that you as members are getting what you want from that Business Partnership Network. Quite simply, we wouldn't exist as a national association if we didn't have a business partnership network. They provide us with a really critical income stream through sponsorship, and equally provide us with a wealth of knowledge and experience across all areas of golf club management. So a number of new business partners that have joined us over the last year or so, as well as a number of businesses that have supported us for a long time, and really pleased to see a number of them in the meeting today. Most recently, we were delighted to announce a new partnership with the R&A Sustainable Agronomy. I think for us as an association, to be seen to be working hand in hand with the global governing body is fantastic for us. It's fantastic for our profile, and it's fantastic for you as members. I won't say anything more about the partnership because, of course, we've got Alistair on today, so I will leave that to him to talk about and share more information about the new Sustainable Agronomy service and everything the R&A are doing to really lead on sustainable agronomy and environmental matters in golf club management. And again, through our business partnership network, and something that our members are really looking for from us is more in the way of sort of personal support services as well. So it's not just about what we're doing for you while you're sitting at your desk, while you're in your golf club. Actually, what are we doing for you as an individual as well? So we've really looked to enhance sort of well-being and mental health services and those sort of personal support services that we're able to offer as well. So working in partnership with our insurance partner at Howdens, we've launched a brand new legal services and personal support package. If you've not already seen this, then please do have a look on the website, and you'll be able to find out all of the information on there. But most importantly, what this provides you with is contractual and employment dispute cover. So if in the unfortunate circumstance that you come up against a contractual issue at your club with your employer or an employment dispute, we've got that cover for you. We've got you covered. There's a helpline, there's legal cover, there's financial protection to help you through that entire process. So the minute that sort of thing happens, we know from time to time, sadly it does in golf clubs, we've got your back. Come and talk to us. We can point you in the direction of Howdens and ARAG and get you the support that you need to hold your hand through that process, give you that personal support, give you that legal protection and that legal advice throughout the process as well. As well as that, the cover also gives you legal services and legal advice on your own property, personal injury, tax matters, loss of earnings. There's a 24/7 tax advice helpline, and as well as that legal services helpline that we've mentioned as well, there is also a 24/7 counselling helpline as well. So if you're having some concerns with your mental health, you need someone to talk to, there are qualified counsellors on that helpline 24/7 to help you, all part of that package that we've provided for you. And then just lastly, in terms of career progression and professional development, increasingly so, this is a big demand on us for an association, and quite rightly. The more that we're seeing career progression in golf club management, the further we go in terms of golf club management becoming, very much a business operation, and very much sort of leadership, strategic leadership as a golf club manager. Our role is to continue to progress education and professional development for our members. So that's a really key part of what we're doing and what we're continuing to progress. We're hoping to have, and I can't say anything right now, but we're hoping to have an announcement for you in the next couple of months of what that next phase of our education program is going to look like. Of course, we already offer regional meetings, webinars, our online learning library through Skillgate, our one-week Principles of Golf Club Management course, our annual conference. We are looking to add to that as well, and we're hoping to make an announcement on that within the next couple of months, so watch this space. You will hopefully as well have seen about 18 months ago, we launched the new GCMA accreditation program. So GCMA accreditation is the first of its kind in the industry, quite a unique offering. Of course, golf club management, as we all know, isn't just about what you've learned in the classroom. More importantly, and most of that learning actually comes from your experience day to day in running your golf club, the skills, the knowledge, the achievements that you've got in your role as a golf club manager, as well as the learning and development that you continue to undertake. So what GCMA accreditation does, it's a platform that enables you to pull all of that information into one place, and it gives you that value, that recognition to what you bring to your employer and what you bring to the industry in order to become accredited as a golf club manager. So similar to how the PGA Pro at your club has the PGA badge above their pro shop door, you can now have GCMA accredited manager above your door, on your desk, on your email signature, wherever you may choose to put it, to really present your value to everyone in the industry. If you haven't already taken part in GCMA accreditation and you'd like to learn a bit more, we're more than happy to offer a one-to-one. So just get in touch, email us at accreditation@gcma.org.uk. That's accreditation@gcma.org.uk. Drop us a line and we will reply, offer you the opportunity to have a one-to-one, and we can walk you through the program, how it works and how you can best get started with your own accreditation. There's a whole wealth of resources on the website as well. The dedicated accreditation landing page will talk you through the CPD framework, the accreditation criteria, how it all works and how you can get started. And you've got access to your own platform to 365 days a year as well. So you can continue to build your accreditation whenever you wish to. I said I'd be done by 1:50 and it's 1:56, Karen, so that's terrible. But hopefully leaves a few minutes for any questions if anyone would like to ask anything or comment on anything, or please just give me some feedback on what you'd like to see from us.
Anyone got any questions for Tom? Tom, it does, sitting here listening to you going through that whistle-stop tour of everything that's being introduced, it's a significant amount, and you and the team have worked so hard to bring about some new initiatives and benefits that that we're all going to be enjoying. And some of the initiatives, particularly the insurance support, I think is definitely something that everyone needs to be aware of, as sad as it is. And I'm, you know, somebody that's really grateful to the involvement from the GCMA in that respect. And I shall definitely use some of the other initiatives to be able to help me doing my job. It doesn't look as though there are anyone else with any other burning questions, but obviously people can get in touch with you directly if they need to know anything further.
Yes, please. I'm never sure if no one asks a question, it's either that I've covered everything so well or everyone's just had enough of listening to me and they want to move on to the next presentation. So we'll assume it's the former. We'll assume it's the former. But thanks, everyone. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, there's such a lot going on. Anyway, thank you very much, Tom. I know you're very busy, and we're really grateful for you to hop into our little webinar this afternoon.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Let's hope when you disappear that the whole system doesn't crash down.
No, it won't. I've given you.
Are you sure?
I hope not anyway. If it does, then you can blame me.
Okay, right. Thank you, Tom. Have a good afternoon.
Yeah, and you. Thanks, guys. I'll stay on for a little
while. Right, now our next speaker is Alistair Beggs from the R&A. Now, whenever we talk about sustainability on a golf course, to me, it was always about conserving water to allow you to be able to irrigate during the summer months. Now, after coming through the wettest winter I've ever experienced in my life, it seems the wrong time to be discussing water preservation, but actually that is something that we need to be mindful of, isn't it, Alistair, with climate condition changes, and who would want to be a greenkeeper at this time with the difficulties that we face through the winter? Well, not only through the winter, but the previous 12 months as well. Anyway, Alistair's got all the answers. So hopefully his presentation will be very interesting. I think we've got some course managers on the webinar as well, so hopefully they'll be equally as interested. So I'm going to pass you across now to Alistair. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks, Tom, and thanks to the GCMA for giving us the opportunity to speak this afternoon and share what we're doing for the industry and the game as a whole. I've got a little presentation that I'll talk through. I'm hoping that'll last sort of 35-40 minutes. Finishes up with a little video that we've just finished with the RSPB, which sort of extols the virtues of golf, really, and golf and nature, and how golf is good for nature. So it's an important sort of messaging tool as part of the presentation. And then hopefully, you know, time at the end for any questions and answers that you, or questions anyway, that you may have on the subject of sustainability and golf courses. So let me try and share my screen with you. Hopefully technology will allow us to do this. Oh, it says host disabled participant screen sharing, Sharon. Sorry, Karen.
If I make you a co-host, will that give you the ability to do that?
Might do. Yeah, probably will. Yeah, I'm getting nods, seeing some nods.
Yeah.
There we go. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. It's always a good start when technology works. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit this afternoon about sustainable agronomy in golf and sustainable golf and what we're doing at the R&A to help and support clubs, and talk a little bit about the challenges and threats that the industry as a whole is facing. And in GB&I, we're not immune from this, unfortunately. See if I can. There we are. Okay, so I've been about in the agronomy world for over 30 years. I've got a lot of experience of helping and supporting golf clubs in GB&I and beyond. Done some work in Europe, done some work in America, done some work in the Far East as well. How did I get into it? I mean, I've always played golf since I was small, and I wanted to sort of combine that with a scientific background. So I've managed to do that. I got a degree in biology, which had nothing to do with agronomy, nothing really to do with soil science, had a bit to do with plant science and microbiology, but it gave me sort of the analytical skills that I need really to do my job. And then obviously combine that with experience. I've always had an interest in golf course architecture as well, and done lots of presenting and written lots of articles over the years, and still play golf when I can. So what are we doing? What are we doing at the R&A in terms of, you know, supporting the game and supporting golf clubs and supporting the GCAMA and greenkeepers? Well, I mean, you know, as the governing body of the game of golf, we're at the forefront of the sport as it modernizes and becomes, you know, more relevant to today's society. We want to lead by example. We're probably known primarily for governance of the game, for rules, for running the Open Championship and other championships. And we haven't sort of historically been known for, you know, providing agronomy support or, you know, direct golf course support to clubs. But this is an area that we moved into in 2022 and launched our new business. And it's been very successful since we did so. And obviously partnering with the GCMA is helping us to increase awareness about what we're doing and how we're there to help and support clubs up and down the country. So we're here to make golf, you know, more accessible, more appealing, and more inclusive. And probably most of all, we want to ensure that golf is thriving in 50 years from now. And that really is what sustainability is all about. So there's a question: what is sustainable golf? What does sustainability mean to all of you? You know, the word's bandied around all the time now. It's probably overused, and everybody sort of understands it in different or has different understandings of what it means. So what does it mean to you at your club, and what does it mean to your members? And so it means different things to different people, but it takes in all of these different aspects. To some people, it's all about nature and biodiversity. It's all about the environment. Well, of course it is, and golf as a sport has a unique relationship with the environment. So we're in an advantageous position compared to, let's say, football or tennis or many other sports that don't have that intrinsic link with the environment. So of course it's about nature and biodiversity, and it's about doing things in sympathy with nature and promoting biodiversity where we can. But it's more than that. It's also about conserving resources. And what resources am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about all sorts of things. I'm talking about sand, for example. Sand is a resource that we need to be careful with. It's finite. There aren't infinite amounts of the material about, but all our golf courses are really fundamentally reliant on it. And until we find an alternative material, we'll continue to be. Water is another resource that we're reliant on, and we're a little bit down the priority list and priority order when it comes to delivery of water by water authorities to humankind. And there are plenty of industries and plenty of users of water that are higher up the list. So we need to be aware that we are not a priority industry when it comes to water, but we really need it in order to maintain our golf courses appropriately and provide a product that's fit for purpose. So it's about conserving resources, absolutely. It's also about taking climate action where appropriate. And nature is very, very powerful, and there are some things that we can take action on, and there are some things that are just too powerful for us to take action on. But it's about being aware of the climate, and Karen and Tom and a few others we were talking when we first came on the call about how challenging and how difficult the climate's been over the last 12 months. I mean, it's been desperately wet since June of last year. And I'm speaking to you from the northwest of England, and we've had 1,200 millimeters of rain in 2023 against an average in this part of the world of about 800. So we've had 50% more, but I've visited golf clubs in the southeast of England in recent weeks where they've had double what they would normally expect. So 1,500 against 750. I was in East Anglia earlier this week, and they've had 900 against 650. So it makes life very, very difficult. When we're getting these levels of moisture falling from the skies at a time of the year when we get no help from nature. There's no evapotranspiration, so there's nothing lost back to the atmosphere. It's all got to be taken in by the soil, and of course, even courses that are on sand have been struggling with these sorts of numbers. So it's very, very difficult for the majority of clubs that don't sit on sand. And then there's the converse that we're being told that we're going to get more rain in the winter, but we're going to get less in the summer. So how do we circularize all this, and how do we try and take advantage of excess water in the winter and use it more effectively to irrigate our golf courses in the summer? There's a virtuous circle there, but it's a complicated virtuous circle around water security that we need to try and navigate over the next few years. And these things aren't easy to navigate. They're not cheap to navigate. A lot of this work requires significant capital expenditure. And just looking at irrigation systems and drainage systems on golf courses, there are a lot of drainage systems out there that are very, very old and that are blocked by tree roots. And there are lots of irrigation systems out there that are 30, 40 years old with old PVC pipework that's splitting and bursting and it really not fit for purpose. These are big capital projects, but it's very, very difficult to convince golfers and members of golf clubs to invest in systems that are actually in the ground. They're actually seen and not heard most of the time, and golfers just take these things for granted that their golf course, their piece of land will drain well, and their greenkeeping team will irrigate that piece of land efficiently when the weather turns dry. But it's not the case. These are big capital items. They're expensive, and as a consequence of that, there are a lot of golf clubs out there that haven't invested in them sufficiently over the last 40 or 50 years. It's about community engagement. It's about golf clubs not being sort of bastions of elitism and being separate from local communities. It's about integrating with local communities and making sort of the public welcome up to a point. That's a really, really important part of growing the game and encouraging the next generation to play. And so is promoting participation and obviously sort of running championships helps us do that. The Open Championship, the AIG Women's Open, and the amateur championships that we run are sort of conduits to the general public and help us to promote the game. But we're also increasingly trying to promote, sustainable approaches to the game and making it clear that when we run our championships, we try and do that in the most sustainable way possible. And then finally, it might well mean sort of protecting the greenkeeping profession, because sadly, there are too few people going into the greenkeeping profession now, and lots of clubs are having difficulty recruiting good young greenkeepers into the job. And quite frankly, it's as simple as this: if we don't have greenkeepers in the future, then we don't have a game. So it's really, really important to us, to foster the right sort of systems and protocols to allow young people to enter the greenkeeping profession. And be the top quality sort of course maintenance people of the future. So it can mean all of those things. It can mean one of them. It can mean all of them. But all of you as sort of managers of clubs, will have sort of all of those issues in the back of your mind, and you can't tackle them all at once. You can't deal with them all at once. But it's important that you are aware of all of those aspects of sustainability. So what are we doing at the R&A to try and support and help? Well, as we see it, we're here to protect the game and we're here to promote the game. So we're trying to protect the game from the impacts of climate change. We're trying to protect the game from resource restrictions. We're trying to protect the game from legislative change. I'll come back to sort of pesticides and the legislative change that is affecting us in a minute. But these are big levers that are changing the game. Public opinion. I mean, we all sometimes as golfers we live in this cosseted world, and we know how wonderful the game of golf is. But you ask the average person in the street what do they think of the game of golf, and the answers are not always as positive. So we have to be aware of that. there's a lot of public opinion which says that golf is still an elitist game and it's not accessible. And by the way, you use lots of pesticides and you use lots of water and you use lots of fertilizer and you don't manage the land well, etc., etc. So there's a lot of work to do to change public opinion and change the general public's view of what golf is as a game and a sport. And then obviously there are political and operational challenges that that affect us as well. So we're here to try and protect the game from all of those challenges. And we're here to promote the game as well as a positive force for good. There are so many good things about the game of golf, around health, physical health, mental health, etc., about the environment. We're trying to promote the resilience and the adaptation of the game. As I've said, we're trying to promote the greenkeeping profession, and we're also, most of all, trying to promote sustainability solutions where we need them. And all that leads to raising standards in sustainable agronomy. And in order to raise standards in sustainable agronomy, we've got to do research and we've got to provide practical guidance to clubs. So the agronomy service that is there to help raise standards, and our research program, Golf Course 2030, is there to provide the foundation for the agronomy service and to provide new ideas and research and innovation for the future. So we're doing both of those things in tandem. So the challenges, a little bit more on the challenges that we're facing. There's no doubt that the sustainability of established practices is being questioned. So the way we manage golf courses 10, 15 years ago no longer works. We're having to change the way we do things and adapt. And there's some innovation out there. There are new products out there, so we've got to be aware of them. We've got to embrace them. Not all of them at the same time. Some of them are good, some of them are not so good. Some of them will improve with time. But we've got to be open-minded about the way we manage golf courses, because the way we do that will continue to change. We've got to promote the game positively in all its aspects. Golf courses are experiencing increased pressures from all sorts of different directions. And the places we play, they're changing. But all of that provides sort of opportunity. And as I've already said, golf's a sport that naturally, intrinsically links itself with the natural environment. And so we've got a head start on a lot of other sports in that respect. But we've got to make sure that we take full advantage of that. We've started the journey to change player, spectator, and golfing perception and public perception about the game of golf. And we've got to continue to do that. We're in a fortunate position in that we run the biggest championship in the world, so it gives us a stage on which to extol the virtues of the game, but also to extol the virtues of sustainability in golf and biodiversity in golf and nature in golf, and make the general public understand that it is a good land use, and it is a positive land use, and it's beneficial to the environment and to the planet. And also the bottom there, sustainability resource. We're beginning to understand now that golf courses are resources for better sustainability. And if we manage our golf courses appropriately, it can benefit not only the course and its members, but it can benefit the community as a whole, as areas of sort of green space that are of absolute value to everybody. So what are we doing at the R&A? Well, really, before 2021, before COVID, we weren't really doing a lot in this space. Since COVID, we are doing a lot more. And we've now got sort of the R&A Sustainable Golf Department set up in St Andrews. The Sustainable Agronomy Service that I head up is part of that. So that's the GB&I operation. We also have an operation now out in Singapore. One of my colleagues, Chris Gray, runs that, and he's giving sustainable agronomy support to golf clubs out in the Asia Pacific region. And we're looking to expand the service into Europe as we speak. So we're looking for resources and opportunities out there to spread our tentacles further. We've also got our Sustainable Championship Agronomy, which we've been doing for longer. So the Sustainable Agronomy Service, the commercial service, we set up in 2022. So prior to that, we really didn't have any commercial engagement in agronomy terms with golf clubs. But the Championship Agronomy Service has been going for a long time, and I've been involved with that, for over 20 years, directly and indirectly. And that's the service really that supports our championship venues, and ensures that the venues that host our championships are in the sort of the condition and are presented in the way we want them presented for our championships. So we're doing commercial work for all golf clubs, so we're open and available to help and support all clubs now. Obviously, we're doing our work for our championship venues. We're looking to expand into different parts of the world. Underpinning all of this is our Golf Course 2030 research program, which is run by my colleague John Kemp. And we've got, I think, 14 projects up and running at the moment. And there are a number of other projects that have already been reported on. And there are lots of case studies and there's lots of research information on our website for people to dip into as and when they want to. And then we've got our Green Links program as well, which is run by my colleague Libby Newell, and that's all about making sure that the championships that we run, so Opens, Women's Opens, etc., are run in as sustainable a fashion as we can possibly do so. So there are ambitions, and there are sort of 5 areas that we're looking to progress and develop. So the sustainable agronomy services, which I've already talked about, the sustainable championship agronomy, Golf Course 2030 research, sustainable greenkeeping education and scholarships. So we also run our R&A Scholar program for exceptional young greenkeeping individuals who want to develop their practical skills and the education they've got into sort of higher level education. And really become the managers and the leaders of the future. And we're really very keen to support that, and we see that as a sort of a gold standard of greenkeeping education. So if you've got young members of staff or promising greenkeepers that are looking to sort of develop their skills and develop their career, then the R&A Scholar program is something that you should be aware of and be able to sort of push new young recruits through. And the Green Links program, as I've already mentioned. So a little bit more about sustainable agronomy and our role as R&A agronomists. I mean, what do we do? Well, agronomy is the study of soil management. So yeah, we're into soils and we're into grasses and making sure that soils and grasses are right for what we want to deliver from a golfing perspective. But increasingly, a lot of this these days is about data, but it's not only about data, it's about combining that data with visual observations and experience and knowledge as well. So we're trying to provide evidence and expertise really to support clubs, support greenkeeping teams, support golf club managers in doing what they're doing to make their facility as good as it can possibly be. It's not just about delivering technical support. It's about education. It's about communication. I do a lot of sort of members' evenings to groups of members to explain to golfers, what's happening in the industry and the changes that are happening. Because we as industry professionals sort of understand a lot of this, but golfers don't understand that quite so much. And a lot of them are blinkered when they arrive at the club, and it's just all about getting the ball in the hole and then the home again. And they don't understand the bigger picture about what's going on. So why are the greens not quite so good on one day as the next? There are all sorts of reasons for that. And it's important that they understand, where we are with worm casting, for example, where we are with leather jackets, where we are with disease management when we don't have the fungicides that we used to have. Things are changing. We have to do things differently. And the other thing that golfers need to bear in mind is that, the golf course is an organic being. It's a living thing. I think too many golfers think of golf courses as inanimate objects. They are just there, and they're the same every day, and there are people to look after it, and it will be perfect, whether it's wet, whether it's dry, cold, hot, whatever it may be. It's a living thing. It's an organic beast, and it changes. And just reminding them of that occasionally is no bad thing. So we're trying to do that through thought leadership, through writing, and through doing things like this. It's about awareness, really. We as professionals need to engage with integrated turf management as it changes, so that the technologies and techniques that we're using, are changing all the time. So it's important for us to be at the sharp end of that and to be able to sort of pass that innovative knowledge to you. It's about understanding the influence of golf course design. So obviously, a lot of our golf courses in GB and I have been designed by named architects, and those architectural links have value. So it's important that we understand that. It's important that we sort of manage our golf courses in sympathy with the with the original design and the strategies and concepts that those early architects had, as much as we possibly can. And of course, as I know well, every golf course has its own microclimate conditions. So we need to have an understanding of that and how the soils and the terrain and the topography all link with that. It's about grass species management, but in my opinion, there's far too much talk about grass species management. And I'll explain in a minute, why it's important to get some of the other bigger jigsaw pieces in place before we talk about grass species management. Grass species are very important in terms of the overall product you will get. But it's no use having aspirations to grow a particular grass if you haven't created the environment to get that grass to compete and thrive in the first place. You can't just impose grass species on sites. They will grow because they want to grow. So we've got to create the right environment for the grasses to grow before we spend money putting them in and encouraging them. Water security is very, very important. I touched on it earlier on, but water security covers the whole water issue, whether it's too much or too little. Where's it coming from? There are still, too many golf clubs perhaps with sort of smaller irrigation systems that, are reliant on mains water up and down the country. Becoming self-sufficient of water is absolutely fundamental for the future. If you are reliant on mains water at your club, well, you need to be having conversations about changing that dynamic, because that mains water is just going to get more and more expensive. It's going to become less available. And if we do have droughts, then, you're vulnerable to not having access to that water because other industries will have priority over that. So how can we work through that difficult conundrum, and use the excess that we get at certain times of the year to fuel the inadequate amounts of water that we get at other times of the year? And geographically speaking, different parts of the country are under different levels of threat and risk from that. And down in the southwest, you get high temperatures down there, but you probably get higher levels of rainfall generally than the southeast does. But getting high levels of rainfall in the winter, if you've got no way of storing it, doesn't help you in the summer. So it's working through that, which is not always straightforward and is not always cheap, but you need to be having conversations about it and you need to be aware about it. Ecology and biodiversity is very, very important, and it's really important, that individual clubs can message about the good things that they're doing around ecology and biodiversity, and whilst the current generation of golfers are beginning to understand this more, I think the next generation of golfers will be even keener on ecology and biodiversity than the current generation. And we should never forget that the reason our golf courses are great is because of the environment in which they're played. So yes, turf conditioning is important, and design and individual hole strengths are important to the overall golfing experience, but the best golf courses are in the best environments. So we need to look after our environment. And the great thing about golf is you can play it in a huge variety of different environments as well. So we need to look after what we've got. And that's your USP, the environment in which your golf course is situated. And then, of course, there's the golf course performance and presentation as well, which we really need to help clubs optimize, to make sure that day-to-day golfer experience, be it for members or be it for guests, is optimized as much as possible. So I've talked a little bit about the threats and the challenges. I mean, you've got a series of pictures up there. I mean, top left, we've got a burnt out fairway. That comes from 2018, but shows what can happen when we get extreme drought. And even what we considered to be hardy grass species in 2018 died. So and once we've lost grass on a golf course, it's a difficult job to get it back. You can't just click your fingers and have grass back again. It's an incredibly resilient plant, but once you've lost it, you've lost it. So we've got to protect ourselves from extreme heat, and we're getting heat that we haven't seen before. So grass species that we're choosing and using and looking to encourage are changing. I've touched on irrigation systems there, and there are irrigation systems of all different ages and all different types and all different suitabilities out there. But you've got to have an irrigation that's fit for purpose. You've got to have an irrigation system that will allow you to deliver on your ambition. we'll talk about trees and vegetation in a lot more detail, because I do think this is the #1 issue on most of our golf courses, and we have not managed our trees and vegetation adequately enough over the last 50 years. We've planted far too many. We've planted the wrong types of trees in the wrong places, and they, above anything else, create an environment that is sometimes impossible to encourage the right grasses in. So we really do need to get on top of environmental management and how we're managing our vegetation on our golf courses. And the next slide just shows what the impact that trees can have on the amount of light that grass gets. And different grasses need different amounts of light. I mean, just as an example, a bentgrass plant needs twice as much light as a meadowgrass plant. So if you've got compromised light situation on your golf course, then meadowgrass, which is a weed grass, is always going to be more dominant than more desirable bent grasses are. So optimizing light, and the DLI, as we call it, the daily light integral, is really, really important. Bottom left, we've got the coastal erosion problem. I mean, this is huge, and this is not something that the R&A can solve on its own. This is a natural force that is absolutely huge. And those of you, and there will be a number of you down there in the southwest that have, that are adjacent to the sea and have potential coastal erosion issues. This is a difficult problem to solve. And if some of the predictions that are coming out, prove to be true, then there are going to be some golf courses that are going to lose some land in the future, and that's pessimistic. But we have to face facts in some of these situations. Drainage. I mean, we've got a picture of a wet bunker there. We've got a picture of a wet green. I mean, you'll all be familiar with this over the last 6 months. I've just seen this walk after walk after walk while I've been on golf courses. So, drainage systems in a lot of cases that we've got in golf courses are old, and not intensive enough to get rid of the volumes of water that we're now seeing. So we have to invest in drainage. But again, it's order of priorities, and investing in drainage before you deal with the tree and the vegetation issue is not sensible. It's back to, tree and vegetation issue is #1 priority. Get rid of those first. Let's manage that environment appropriately to create the right environment, and then we can assess the drainage. Open land dries far more quickly than tree-lined land does. Basic fundamental. So if we can get air and light over the surface, then the land will dry more quickly. And also, there's no point in putting drains in if there are trees adjacent to drains. If there are tree roots within 5 meters of a drain, then over 5 years they'll block that drain. So there's no use spending 50, 100,000 pounds on drainage if we've got trees that are too close to the systems. So again, it's back to getting things in the right order. And then bottom right, we've got the disease issue, which brings me on to the subject of pesticide legislation, and how that's changing. And there are going to be some changes in Europe that will, and I know we're not in the EU anymore, but even so, that EU legislation, as it changes, will impact what we have access to. And really, the pesticide journey is only going in one direction. And whilst we've still got more pesticides in GB&I than some European countries have, that's likely to change over the next 5 to 10 years. So we've got to learn to manage our turf on less chemicals, essentially. So I'm just going to repeat myself here a little bit with this slide before I move on. But I'm keen to move on in a second. But the challenges that are evolving across Europe: weather extremes, player expectation. Haven't really touched on player expectation yet, but it's important because the golfer these days pays their sub, pays their green fee, whatever it may be, and they expect excellence every time. And it doesn't matter whether it's January, it doesn't matter whether it's July. They have an expectation that, having paid that money, their golf course will deliver and meet their expectations. It's becoming harder to do that because of the challenges I've already described. But we've got to manage that as well, and that's partly the job of the greenkeeping teams, and it's partly the job of the management teams at golf clubs to do that. And it's also our job as well. So we have got to sort of communicate better with golfers. We think historically we've been quite good, I think, at sort of engaging with greenkeepers and engaging with the industry. But we've got to get better as an organisation at engaging with golfers. And we're in the process at the moment of putting some short videos together in conjunction with England Golf and Golf Monthly to try and explain some of the agronomic issues and the agronomic challenges that face golfers, but trying to sort of explain those in lay terms that they understand. So there are lots of different ways that we're trying to do this. Obviously, the game's popular at the moment, so lots of people are playing. So we've got to manage the wear and tear at times of turf grass stress. I've talked about legislation. I've talked about scrutiny by the public and public opinion. Increasing costs is that's facing us all in all aspects of life, and we don't escape this from a golf course management perspective. But the price now really of materials, just day-to-day materials, seeds, sands, are going up, and the price now of golf course furniture and the price of equipment. I was at a golf club the other day. They've just bought themselves 3 new electric triple machines. Terrific from a sustainability point of view, but they're paying sort of 70, 80,000 pounds for these machines now. So 3 lots of 70, 80,000 pounds, £250,000. And 2 of these machines were sitting outside because they didn't have room to put them in the maintenance compound. So there's an example of, perhaps not getting the priorities right. If you bought a Ferrari, you probably wouldn't leave it outside all night. So there we go. It's all of these things are juggling acts really, and we need to get them in the right order. Staffing and welfare really, really important. You're not going to get the best results if the staff don't have the right equipment, don't have the right welfare facilities, don't have the right working facilities. That's all important. And again, there are a lot of clubs out there that have got nothing short of Dickensian style maintenance facilities for their greenkeepers. That needs to be improved. And the availability and the lead time on a lot of materials now that we're trying to buy has all changed. So we have to factor that into our lives, our working lives. So I've had a lot of queries from clubs that I've been working at, over the last sort of 2 or 3 years, and they've said to me, well, do you have a working document? Do you have a sort of like a template plan structure that we could have access to that would help us put a strategic plan together for our golf course? I'm sure a lot of you have already got these, or you'll have a strategic plan for the club. But what I've spent the winter doing is putting a sort of almost like a template strategic plan together for the golf course, and this can be developed into a strategic plan for the club. So it's all links together quite nicely. Well, we're trying to push this now, because what it will help you to do, it will help you to really engage with all of the challenges and threats that are facing the game, and almost put them in priority order and cost them, and then develop a sort of a journey, if you like, to deal with them. And look, it might take 25 years to deal with this. This might not be a 5-year plan. It might be a 25-year plan. But there need to be conversations about these issues and putting them in priority order so that we deal with them sequentially and appropriately. So I'm just going to talk you through the plan will be different at every club, and the priority list will be different at every club. But step 1 for me, as I alluded to earlier on, is setting the right environment and getting the agronomy and the environmental planning correct. There's no point worrying about irrigation or drainage until you've got the agronomy and environmental planning right. Because as I said earlier on, the management of the preferred grass species, whilst it's one of the best tools we have to protect us for the future, we will not be able to grow those grasses unless we create the right environment to do so. And this isn't about, the messaging is not about removing trees or chopping trees down left, right and centre, because that's the wrong message to give to golfers. But it's about managing the landscape mosaic so it's balanced. Now, every landscape mosaic is different, but every landscape mosaic will contain a number of different species and a number of different habitats. And it's about making sure that we've got those habitats in balance, and at the same time making sure that we can optimize air and light penetration to greens, tees and playing surfaces. Once we've done that, it will be easier to grow the grasses that we want to grow. And once we can grow the grasses that we want to grow, we're going to have a more resilient product for golfers on a year-round basis. So step 1, I would argue, for most of us away from the seaside's a little bit different, because there tends to be less vegetation in the way of sunlight and airflow. So those sites tend to dry naturally more quickly and more effectively. But what we need to try and do is make our golf courses more vulnerable to drying and more vulnerable to airflow, because soils are too wet for too long in this country, and we need to dry them out more quickly. And if we look at our golf courses, well, there we are. These are figures that I've had through from the RSPB that we have a partnership with over 3,000 courses in urban, rural, and coastal locations throughout the UK, each covering up to 60 hectares of sustainably managed and highly protected green space. Golf is good for nature. It absolutely is. And I think the RSPB have told us that if you add up all the hectareage of all the golf courses in the UK, it basically doubles the amount of land that they have. So they have a certain hectareage that they manage, and golf courses added to that doubles that land. And a lot of the land that sits as golf course at the moment is being well managed. It's a huge amount of good work going on out there by clubs and by greenkeepers to to make the habitats that they've got much better. And over 50% of a typical 18-hole golf course can be made available for biodiversity. So if you think greens, tees, fairways, really it doesn't occupy a huge amount of the land that you're custodians of. And then, as well as that, there are all the different species that that exist on our golf courses, and there are a huge number of species of principal importance, amber or red listed birds that exist on our golf courses, because as custodians of golf courses over the years, we've done a pretty good job of looking after the environment. So we need to continue that process. So step one is getting the environment right. And then step two, for a lot of people, certainly given the weather we've had over the last few years, the last 12 months and the last few years to a certain extent, is optimizing site drainage. Because we want to offer golf on a 12-month basis if we're going to optimize, income and revenue. So drainage is an important part of that, and a lot of our land drainage on pieces of ground is Victorian in some cases. Old clay drains blocked with tree roots just don't function. So it's important that is reviewed and it's updated so that we can get water where we need to off the site as effectively as possible. Step three, we need efficient irrigation and optimum water use, back to the sort of water security issue that I talked about earlier on. So we've got to be able to get rid of excess water through drainage in the winter, but we've got to have water so that we can irrigate our turf, during extremely high temperatures in the summer. And again, a lot of our irrigation systems are old, they're not efficient, old technology, coverage of water is not very good. And if we can't apply water uniformly, then it's very, very difficult to grow the grasses that we want to grow. And the forecast, the predictions for the future are that we're going to have, we're going to have less rain in the summer. So we've got to have irrigation systems that are increasingly robust, and irrigation systems that break down, let the greenkeeping teams down. That's going to result in poor golf course conditioning, not meeting the expectations of members, etc. Little bit about sustainable water management. The legislative climatic trends that are in place at the moment. If you go to our website and put sustainable golf in RNA, it'll take you to our website. There are a lot of case studies on there. There's a lot of information about water management, about legislation, and about where the industry in the UK is at the moment around water security. And we've just signed an agreement with a company called TEP, the Environment Partnership, to provide sort of pathways and solutions for golf clubs around this water security issue. So I'm not a water security expert, but the TEP guys are. So they understand about water extraction, water sourcing, boreholes, problems with mains water, and particularly they are experts on alternative water sources and rainwater harvesting, grey water reuse, dynamic river extraction, and other potential wastewater sources that might be available in the future for us to tap into. But obviously, part of this is about water storage, and we've got to find innovative ways to store water, as well as sort of using water more efficiently. And this can involve, investment in irrigation system can result in more efficient use of water. Use of wetting agents, and the right wetting agents, using them at the right time, can have 20–30% impact on the amount of water that you use on your golf course. So it's all of this is important. Fourthly, resources, staff and machinery review. A club must have a well-structured and appropriately trained workforce. Absolutely fundamental. We're in a people business. That. You guys have to form relationships with your greenkeeping teams and particularly your course managers all the time. And that relationship is critical to how the golf course performs. There have got to be appraisal systems and training and development plans in place, and that's happening. And you know, and as obviously as the industry develops, there's more and more of that in place. But there are still lots of examples of clubs that I visit where those things aren't in place. And obviously, the equipment range has got to be appropriate and efficient and aligned to the club's ambition in terms of what they want to provide for their members and their guests. And then step 5, optimizing strategic playing elements and features to ensure robust playability. What do I mean by that? Well, let's just take bunkers as an example. I mean, bunkers are money pits, essentially. They cost a huge amount of money. Probably, if we were honest and strategic about it, we would say that the majority of our golf courses probably have too many bunkers on them. And if bunkers are going to cost a huge amount of money and sand is going to be a problem in terms of cost and availability and quality going forward, then we need to think about the number of bunkers that we've got. And bunkers take all sorts of different shapes and forms, as those photographs show. But I think increasingly we're going to have to look at alternative features, topography, grass bunkers, tighter mowing, all of these sorts of things will need to be used more effectively to try and create the challenges and strategic interest for golfers without necessarily digging a hole in the ground and filling it full of sand. And some of the you know the solutions that are out there now for bunkers are very, very good. But one thing's for sure, they're very, very expensive. And you multiply that by 60 or 70 or 80 or 90 or whatever it may be, and bunkers become you know, very, very expensive. Not least without the expectation of golfers, again, who expect them to be perfect every single day, and they can't be. And then what about other considerations? Well, increasingly, you know, we're in the area of sort of carbon and you know, and energy efficiency and what have you. And this is very much a part of the industry that is developing and will continue to develop over the next few years. What we tend to suggest to people at the moment, because again, we're not experts on carbon, but focus on reducing your emissions. That's the key aspect. That would be the key message from me at the moment. Does the site have sequestration potential? Yes, it probably does. And there are calculators out there now to work out, or to help you work out, what the sequestration potential of your golf course might be. And there might be financial benefits to that going forward. But that's a very much sort of watch this space, really. Again, there's information on sort of the climate impact of golf courses and carbon balances and what have you on our website. So there's quite a bit of sort of developing information on there. It's a good resource to learn a little bit more about that. And there's our website address, www.randa.org/whatisgolfcourse2030. That's your link for more information on that subject. That's our sustainable agronomy team. I mean, I started this with Gordon Howard, my colleague, back in 2022, and we've added Paul Woodham to the team in 2023, and later in 2023 we've just added Simon Watson to the team as well. So I'm up in Liverpool, Gordon's in Glasgow, Paul's in Birmingham, and Simon's down in Cambridge. So we've got you know, we've got the country just about covered. We need someone down in the southwest now, obviously. And this is not a sales pitch, but obviously, you know, if you're interested and you want more information on our services, then you can get that through our website as well. And there it is. Sustainable agronomy at randa.org is the contact address, the email address. So just to finish, I'm going to show you a little video that we put together with the RSPB. This lasts about 7 or 8 minutes. We'll run this and then be very happy to answer any questions once we're finished. Hope you enjoy this.
Getting up at 5 o'clock every morning to drive down here, we often see part of the day that other people don't see. You can just sort of switch off, listen to the birds, breathe in the fresh air. Very often you can hear the woodpeckers in the woods, buzzards overhead, a little bit of mist sometimes drifting across the course. As the sun starts to come up, get this really great feeling of the shadows coming across. It's a pretty amazing place, to be honest.
When golf evolved on the east coast of Scotland from at least the 1400s, the natural environment and the landscape has forever shaped how the game is played today. links land back when golf first started to evolve and grew over the continuing centuries was often common ground. That meant the golfers didn't have sole rights to the use of the links. And so it meant that golfers really had to work alongside and with the natural environment. It was a holistic approach that they took to the game itself.
It's always a game that has been inextricably linked with the environment around it. The charm of the game really is the variety of different environments it can be played in. And we are passionate at the R&A about managing golf courses in sympathy with that environment.
I think what is really quite critical as well is that our sustainable golf strategy, and in particular our approach to biodiversity and nature, is around making sure that we provide a good playable golf facility, a golf course, but equally provide fantastic environmental stewardship as well.
It's important for us, not only that golfers enjoy and understand that, but it's also important for us to convey the message to wider audiences that golf is good for nature.
What was really important for us is to really partner with one of the UK's largest conservation charities, the RSPB. It is really quite a fantastic charity that enables people to really understand the natural habitats of golf courses, species conservation and bird conservation in particular.
The RSPB really sees the value in what golf courses can offer nature. You know, the fact that they're dotted across the landscape. There's 3,000 golf courses in the UK, and they add up to, you know, I think it's about 126,000 hectares, which is similar landholding to the RSPB as a nature conservation charity. So you can imagine that's like nearly doubling our area of land that, you know, the RSPB are effective on.
Obviously, the land was here before the golf course, and I think certainly in recent times we've tried to make sure that the land is key in all our planning and preparation for what we want to do to the golf course. And it's always one of the major considerations of any new work we're doing. And I think our course manager, Phil, has done a great job in maintaining all the habitats.
This is our 9th green at Hollingwell. As a heathland course, we try and use the grass species that would be native. So it's the finer grasses. We've got a term, it's protective watering, basically. So we're not aiming for producing a lush green environment. We're aiming for something as close to nature as we can get. And again, we've talked about before, on a heathland course, it's dry. And the grasses that do well on the heathland like the dry environment. So if we start firing in excessive amounts of water to make the greens receptive and to make them look nice, that's not what nature would be doing.
The courses that we look after and that we are custodians of are managed very much in sympathy with the environment around them. So we're very, very careful about the amount of water that we use. You can see that this golf course is being managed in harmony with nature.
Grubs are quite a major problem. Many years ago within the industry, there were lots of insecticides available. These insecticides are obviously quite harmful. And they're indiscriminate, they would kill everything. So we're constantly trying to think outside the box and find something else that would do the job. They've recently found out that starlings are quite good at extracting the grubs out the ground without doing much damage. We do have issues with things like crows, and when they come in to actually feed on the leather jackets, they can do quite a lot of damage. Whereas with the starlings, you get quite big flocks, and if they come in en masse, they can actually clear out quite big areas, a good percentage of these grubs without doing any damage at all. The beaks are really precise, so they can actually get in there and get these grubs out. That's just another tool, if you like, for us. So if we can encourage them, then that's great. The bird box thing came about because once we embarked on the Heathland Restoration Programme, we found that we were having to remove quite a few trees. Now, we were only moving them because there were nice trees, but they were in the wrong places and they were detrimental to the heathland habitat. We thought ideally, if we're removing some trees, we could do with probably putting in a few boxes. So by putting these boxes in, which we did, we were giving the birds the opportunity for finding new homes, if you like.
Yeah, there's many different connections, historical and contemporary, between bird life and the game of golf itself. Best known, of course, are probably the golfing terms relating to birds. Every golfer hopes to encounter a few birdies during their round. That is a 1 under par score for a hole. The Golf Clubs of Bird Sanctuaries booklet was published around 1926 by the National Association of Audubon Societies. And the booklet is really a call to action, encouraging clubs and societies to really consider bird life as an integral part of the golfing experience. And so they describe how to support and maintain bird habitats, either natural or artificial ones, through bird feeders, bird boxes, things like that.
The nature and climate crisis is of such a scale now that we realise we just can't do it on our own. We have to work with other people. And that partnership working is key to achieving some really ambitious goals that we have about making us a more nature positive place.
The R&A, as the governing body of the game of golf, now has expertise in course management. We're exploring natural solutions to problems that we may have. And we really want to sort of tell that story to our golfing audience, but also to audiences beyond the game of golf as well. The great golf courses combine fantastic design, good conditioning, best practice management, and a wonderful environment. It might be a subliminal thing to golfers, but it's intrinsic in terms of what makes great golf courses great. It is incumbent upon us as the governing body of the game of golf and as golfers to ensure that the environment, as well as the golf course that it sits in, are both maintained optimally and along best practice lines.
The real key and the real driver from the RSPB perspective certainly is the possibilities are almost endless in what we can deliver on golf courses. There's really, really simple steps that can alter how a golf course is managed, but actually then it really builds on the possibilities of the nature that it can support.
The R&A, some of the work they do on sustainability and stuff like that is massive, and they've been doing it for a long time. By doing things like this with the R&A now and discussing the sustainability and the birds and working with the RSPB, other golf clubs will see that. My hope is that all clubs will either set aside areas or be motivated by what they see other clubs doing like ourselves. We're custodians of this site only for a short period of time, and for us, nature is a much better manager than we could ever be. So if we can use nature and work with nature, then obviously, hopefully what we produce will be better. We can never hope to be as good as what nature is at managing this.
There we go. Hopefully everybody enjoyed that. And I think, Karen, I'm sorry, but I might only have about 4 minutes for questions. But hopefully that's been of interest to everybody. Thank you.
I think, Alistair, that was extremely interesting. And I've got lots of questions in my head, lots of thoughts that have gone through my own head. But before I ask a couple of questions, has anybody else got any questions to ask? Please just feel free to chip in with some questions. Just unmute yourself and ask away. No? One thing that I was interested in, Alistair, something that myself and the course manager here at Clevedon try very hard to do is to educate the members and to make them aware of some of the difficulties. And because particularly in this last winter period, it all seems as though all we're doing is closing the course and giving restrictions. And so we try really, really hard to make sure that they're aware of why we do so. So I was really interested in your education and communication resources, because myself and Richard often referred to some of those articles that you've written and other experts have written that we share with members. And I just wondered if there were, you talked about videos and you talked about educating the golfer and the player to understand, you know, as the sentiment in that video was, we are just custodians, a very small fraction of time in 100+ years of a golf course's existence. We've got to make sure that it's still here in 100 years' time. You know, is there something that the R&A is doing specifically aimed at the golfer to ensure that they are better educated? Because it's all about their expectations.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, Karen. And that's why, you know, we were thinking about this sort of the back end of last year, and we were thinking, well, what's the most effective way of getting to golfers? Because the video's great, but that video's sort of 8 minutes long. So GMS, who we're working with, who are our marketing people, they said, look, that's great, but it's too long. You know, it has a certain niche in the marketplace, and we can use it for certain things, such as sessions like this. But what they were suggesting is we need shorter, you know, pieces that are probably no more than 40 seconds long, a minute and a half long. So we're in the process. I mentioned it earlier on. I think we're in the process of putting 24 videos together, short videos. They'll probably be no more than a minute each. And we're doing this with Golf Monthly, and we're doing it with England Golf. And these are specifically designed to get the message to golfers and to talk their language. So we're trying to talk greenkeeping in golfers' language, if that makes sense. Because, you know, if I do an agronomy visit at a golf club, you know, you might have anything from 2 people to 20 people out there, depending on the club. But even 20 is a relatively small number of people within the membership. So how do we get to the other 600, 700, 800? And the thinking is, and I'm no marketing expert or no communications expert, but they're telling us, look, these short little video clips are the answer, or one of the answers. So watch this space with it, Karen. I mean, we've done 12 of them already. You know, Paul and Simon have primarily been involved with those, and we're going to do another 12 in August. So, you know, these will be dripped out now through the year, through R&A Media, through Golf Monthly, and this is very much designed to get to the golfer, not the greenkeeper, not the club manager. We need to get better at talking to golfers about greenkeeping and about agronomy, because otherwise there's just that frustration gap between the likes of you and me and the membership, and that's a challenge.
I think the power of the R&A in front of the golfer is invaluable, and I think as soon as we can have the opportunity to share with individual golfers would be beneficial. I remember once coming along to a presentation that Marie gave from the RSPB, and we talked about that, one of those slides where it was a completely brown golf course. You know, that is what we're going to have to be expecting some summers as we go into 2030 and beyond. So, you know, even the rules of golf will have to change to enable that expectation. Yeah,
no, well, absolutely. You know, the buzz phrase is brown is the new green, but it's difficult in commercial in commercial terms to sell a brown golf course to a member, particularly a member who may be new to the game and they just expect the golf course to be green. But it's all part of the same challenge, Karen. It's a challenge, and we're conscious there's a lot to do.
Surely years ago, before irrigation systems were as effective as they are nowadays, then that was the expectation for golfers. They pitched up, they played on whatever they played on. There was no expectations of the surface being, you know, and then over the years we've had the TV, sport on TV, and we've all learned that a lush green golf course is what's to be expected 365 days of the year.
Yeah, and perhaps I shouldn't say it, but there's probably too much golf on TV now, and too much of the, the perfectly presented championship tournament style golf, and you can almost turn it on every day now, and you see a perfectly conditioned golf course from somewhere in the world, and of course the members turn up and think that they can have the same, and that they don't understand it's a living thing, and the conditioning's driven by nature more than anything else. It's driven by Richard, your head greenkeeper, to a certain extent, but it's driven by nature primarily, and it's important that they understand that. But we can't be patronising. We've got to do it in a way that they can engage with. It's really, really important. We don't want to be standing there and sort of waving a finger and lecturing to them. That's not going to work. It's got to be an immersive process for them, and they've got to be able to engage with it. So that's the route we're going down, and obviously, through Open Championships and Women's Opens, we're being given increasing opportunities by Sky, because Sky are quite keen to talk about the sustainability and the less so about the greenkeeping, but they're more interested in the sustainability side of things. And so we're being given opportunities by them to talk on TV from time to time as well, which all helps.
Okay, well, we've sort of reached our point of our next speaker. So in respect of him, then we ought to finish. Thank you so much, Alistair, for being here today. It's been extremely informative. I'm certainly going to refer to your presentation quite significantly over the coming months, I'm quite sure, but thank you very much.
Pleasure, Karen. Nice to see you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Have a good season.
Thanks very much. Thank you, and you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Thank you. So we are now at 3 o'clock. We should keep to time if we can. So I'd now like to hand you over to Bruce Porter, who, Bruce, many of you will know from his previous days with 59 Club, and he's been involved in the golf industry for many, many years. But Bruce has got some great initiatives to talk to us today about flexible golf membership. We all enjoyed the thriving of golf, I suppose you could call it, after the COVID years. And we're kind of, I think most clubs, according to the managers that I speak to now, we're finding that number, that huge number of people that we were attracting to the sport is now slipping away somehow. And we've got to try and look at ways in which we can retain their membership over a much more flexible opportunity than the one box fits all that many of our golf courses offer. So I'd now like to hand you over to Bruce. And then after Bruce's presentation, we'll have a quick comfort break before we have our last speaker. So Bruce, thanks very much for joining us today. Over to you.
Pleasure. Thank you for the invite. Welcome, everybody. Thank you first and foremost for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today. Big thank you to the GCMA. Big thank you to Karen for inviting me along. It's great to see that the GCMA are recognising regional development and putting it in such high priority. I'd like to start with an apology. I am coming off the back of 2 weeks of COVID and a chest infection. Couple that with doing now an online presentation, I feel like I'm back in 2022. So if you see me mute and hold my mouth, I'm obviously just having a little bit of a cough. So please bear with me. So what am I going to be talking about today? Well, I think we can all agree that the industry has always prioritized the 7 and 5 day membership categories, and rightly so. But I think with the changing of the landscape, this leaves a huge opportunity for membership, for a membership option that really caters for the infrequent golfer, and more importantly, the infrequent golfer who really does desire club life and all of the wonderful things that go into belonging to a golf club. So as far as we as a company recognize flexible membership is absolutely on the rise. And today I'm just going to be looking at the impact of offering a flexible membership at your venue. So once Karen, if Karen can make me a host, please, Karen, that would be amazing. you very much. Perfect. Okay, so I'll just give it 1 second as I share my screen. Okay, can you now just give a thumbs up if you can see impact of offering a flexible membership? Perfect. Okay, so the impact of offering a flexible membership, what am I going to be looking at? Well, there's some important factors before you even start to recognize that this could be something that the club utilize going forward. What to consider, that is the absolute first thing. You know, current situations at the club, can the club cope with an extra revenue stream? What types of scheme I should consider? There is absolutely not a one-size-fits-all option out there. So we'll go through the types of schemes that can be looked at. What then are the challenges when introducing a flexible membership category? We're all obviously very busy individuals, and this will highlight what the additional workload could contain, etc. And finally, what the top 6 positive impacts with a flexible membership option are. And at the end, we'll have a little bit of a Q&A. So just a little bit about me. Thank you for the introduction, Karen. For those of you I don't know, we're not going to start off with a spot the difference between that photo and this one. But certainly there is a little bit of a difference in time on that one. But I'm a service manager and responsible for a small amount of sales within Playmore Golf. And my time is absolutely split between assisting our current venues, maximizing their utilization of flexible memberships, and also bringing new partners into our network. So as you can see on screen, I've been in the industry for 20+ years. I started life as a PGA member, still a PGA member now. So I went through kind of the regular assistant pro, then head professional with a little bit of director of golf involved. So my early career was very, very much centered around the private members environment and all of the intricacies that go along with managing the expectations in a private members environment. And then I made a big switch about 8 or 9 years ago, where I moved to a company called 59 Club. And 59 Club, if you don't know 59 Club, it's a global company. We used to deal in the training, the service, the customer journey for some of the biggest and most successful golf clubs in the world, amongst others. So it really gave me a very, very unique opportunity to study what membership looks like, what integration, what retention looks like, not just in the UK, but all the way across the globe. So it's stood me in good stead. So a little bit about our business, about Playmore Golf. This is the last time I will refer to it. So Playmore Golf, we are basically a network of golf clubs providing an individual club access to a network under one membership. And we solely exist to support clubs in achieving their membership goals. Because if clubs operate a successful, flexible membership opportunity with us, then ultimately we are successful in what we do. So providing more choice, more value, more flexibility to golfers. And how do we do that? And how does that support venues? Well, most importantly, the factors that really make a massive difference. And we strive to improve tee sheet utilization, supporting marketing at the club, because we have a team of 20+ individuals at Playmore Golf. We have a marketing section. We're looking to drive additional revenue, which most golf clubs will be obviously very happy to do so with current green fee revenues the way they are. Coming from South Wales, I can absolutely appreciate the difficulties that the weather's provided in the last couple of months. So that's very, very important to us to provide that extra revenue to the clubs that we support. to attract the infrequent golfers. And that's, again, the main aim of what we try to provide, because, again, with 5 and 7 day members, they've always been well catered for. But I suppose I would be an absolute, the target market, because I have a young family. I would be lucky if I'm playing once a month. And most PGA professionals would tell you the same thing. But can I then justify a full membership? I mean, it wouldn't be cost effective for me to do so. So considering a flexible membership, and I am, obviously not on my own, our membership base currently sits at over 13,500 golfers across the UK, and that's growing on a monthly basis. So that's enough about us. Let's move on to what a club should consider before progressing. And that is really looking at the facts and figures on how their club is operating on a day-to-day basis. So is there a demand for a different type of membership to attract the infrequent golfer, first and foremost? Yes or no? It's obviously a very, very simple question. I mean, most of the green fee paying guests who come on a regular basis, and most golf clubs have got those regulars who aren't members of clubs, but certainly pay a very high proportion of green fees. They could quite quickly and easily be turned into flexible members. And also that flexible membership, it's important to understand that that really is a very important pipeline into the future of 5 and 7 day members. What does your current tee sheet utilization show it do in the busy months? Are there gaps? I've certainly been in a position myself where I've looked out of the window and wished I could fill Tuesday afternoon or Saturday after 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And that is really important to consider. I mean, flexible membership certainly isn't for everybody, but most golf clubs, if they would take an honest look at their tee sheets, there will be times that they would love to fill without any impact onto their full playing 5 or 7 day members. Do we know who the at-risk members are with the next renewal? There's always going to be members who, for various reasons, haven't played that much golf, whether it's due to health reasons, whether it's due to change in circumstances, whether it's just work related. Have we reached out to these individuals? Do they know that we're looking out for them? Have they, more importantly, then got an option if the club or venue would like to retain them on their books? Very important, because the consideration is, would I be willing to lose that person in their entirety? Or am I going to offer, let's say, a flexible membership option as almost a parachute scheme that will enable someone to move into it and not lose them completely? How many members do not renew, citing time as their reason? Again, very similar to the point before, but time is, something that people definitely look at, especially with work related matters, with family related matters, and then the time then becomes part of the equation as much as value for money. Because again, with the current financial climate, time often influences value for money, and therefore then it becomes a question of, am I going to join? How many prospects have inquired at the club and then are choosing not to join? Are we gathering the information as to why they're not joining? Is one of those reasons down to cost? Has a venue potentially offered a 7 and a 5 day, but then there's no interim option to entice the less frequent golfer to play? What does the competition offer? Is anyone in the area gaining or looking at the infrequent golfer as a potential revenue source? If the answer to that is no, then that could be a huge, huge advantage. We have recently seen one in the north of Birmingham, where their nearest competitor is about 20 or 30 miles from them. And they've seen over 25 members in the first month. So that can give you an indication. I mean, that's exceptional. That's broken, you know, certainly the amount of broken records since I've been with Play More Golf. But, you know, that is certainly an achievable number because no one else in the area is looking at the infrequent golfer. But again, a points-based membership may not necessarily be right, but it's important to consider all of these elements before deciding to continue. So what are the different options when it comes to a flexible membership? So there's lots and lots of different options, and again, pros and cons of all of these different options. But the solution that we see, you know, you can break it down into 4 main options. Points-based solution. So a golfer can purchase points in advance in exchange for rounds of golf, where a matrix which allows you to see what times and days cost which amount of points. So that is completely controlled by the venue. The venue certainly knows their golfers, their golfing habits the best. So they will determine that, let's say, a Saturday morning, which we're very much busy and don't need the extra revenue in that area, we could potentially put a high cost on playing at that point to discourage flexible memberships from, you know, kind of impacting on the busy times of the tee sheet. But then maybe after 3 o'clock, we can have a really decent reduction in points, making it more cost effective and boosting play during quiet times. So that's a really, really effective way of, you know, improving tee sheet utilization. Seasonal membership. Seasonal membership, you do see this obviously quite a lot all around the country. We see it quite a lot in South Wales, where we are very much blessed with quite a lot of links golf courses. And, you know, as I can see Tim Priestland is on the call, Tim will back me up on this. You do see an awful lot of winter memberships around. But again, that could be a good option. But then the pros and cons, I suppose the cons could be, is that then detracting from a 12-month membership because someone is just, you know, utilizing it during the damp winter months because they know it's playable at that time. So again, pros and cons of that. Pay-as-you-go membership. Option to pay one amount up front or a reduced amount up front and then pay per round. Again, something you do see advertised as a flexible membership. It's, I suppose, not a true flexible membership because you're not getting all of that revenue up front as a member, in which you do with your 5 and 7 days. But certainly it then from that point becomes very much weather dependent, because they may never actually get the opportunity, especially in the last couple of months down in South Wales. You know, the amount of green fee paying has absolutely plummeted. So again, a little bit of a con with that particular option. Trial membership, enabling the golfer to experience a limited period of 1 month with a view that they would join your club following the trial. Really good opportunity for lots of clubs who are offering new to golf. I've run a number of new to golf schemes in my time as kind of head professional, and this is just an incredibly powerful pathway for new golfers to come into your club. And that's also where flexible membership, a points-based solution, could also benefit, to give a true pathway into somebody who's joined as a new to golfer, but is maybe not looking to pay your full 5 or 7 day membership because they're still in that honeymoon period, but they're not sure if they're going to love it. But again, they're part of the pipeline for you to convert then into full playing members. So challenges that I certainly come across on a frequent basis when talking to clubs who are potentially going to come and work, who we will support, or clubs indeed who have been with us for some time. This is not rocket science, as with the private members arena, member expectations and juggling those expectations is probably one of the most important parts of all golf club managers' roles. And people do, as you well know, come to their own conclusions. So clear communication about the benefits and limitations of a flexible membership. That is one of the most important things you can do, because ultimately members will, they'll come to their own conclusions. And the most common conclusion about a flexible membership is that it is cheap golf. Now, cheap golf is a very broad phrase, but it's only cheap in respect that it is cheaper than your 5 or 7 day membership. Our data, and we've got more data on flexible membership than anyone, is that the yield per flexible member in 2021 is actually 40% more than your full playing members. So the yield per flexible member is actually far more than a full playing member, because of when they are playing and how much they're playing. So that is something that I clearly communicate at all times when it comes to the expectations of members. Also, limitations on flexible memberships. That's really, really important, because you certainly do not want this migration from 5 day or 7 day members into any of the flexible memberships that you're offering. And certainly that's a worry if you talk to any board member, any general manager, any committee member. That is one of the first questions that comes out. So it's key that you put in very clear differences. Things like booking windows to start with. Full playing members may get 7 day booking windows. Flexible memberships may only get 5 or 3 day booking windows. Competition entry. Competitions may be limited for a flexible member to just 1 a month. They might be limited, no board competitions, discounts, team golf, bar cards. There's so many different options that you can put in place that will clearly set out and clearly define the differences between the two. And as long as all of that is communicated, it should reduce the dissatisfaction amongst existing members, because ultimately the key element to a flexible membership is that it runs hand in hand and does not impact your 5 or 7 day membership. Revenue management, that can be very, very tricky. It's very much a balancing act. You definitely need to be pricing it so it's attractive to the infrequent golfer, but not to the point where you're upsetting your members. We work very hard with the clubs that we support to get the balance right between rack rate, between also members' guest rate, and making it attractive to become a member, because we want these individuals to be members at the clubs, because that's what they're ultimately looking for. They're looking for the introduction into club life. They're looking for a venue to be based at. So all the camaraderie, all the friendships, all the social events, that's generally what people who pay green fees miss out on. Tee time allocation. So managing tee times for both 5 and 7 day members, that's got to be very, very closely looked at, because again, you do not want to be impacting your 5 and 7 day. Going back to where I was first a head professional, if I'd have, allocated a tee time in the middle of a Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock when the Tuesday and Thursday diddly were going out, I can guarantee you there would have been several of them in my shop by the end of the day. So it's got to be managed in the correct way. And that, again, can be part of the restrictions that you offer, because you might not then allow somebody to play on a Tuesday morning before 11 or on a Thursday morning before 11. But again, a balancing act, because you don't then want to make it unattractive to become a flexible member. Administration burden, I really won't spend too much time on that, because I know you're obviously all very busy individuals, and adding workload to your already busy desks can be a very, very difficult thing. And it's understanding how much work goes into a flexible membership. Marketing and promotion. effective marketing and promoting to new membership to attract new members is, again, a very specialized subject. Marketing is generally something that clubs look for external assistance with, and that's a very important element because we are targeting a different market in flexible golfers, the infrequent golfer. So what would work generally with your full play-in members is going to have to be slightly amended for this. And terms and conditions. Terms and conditions as part of being a full member, they're difficult anyway, and they will obviously have to be amended when it comes to the voting rights, when it comes to access, when it comes to resignation. All of those elements look to you will have to amend from your full playing categories. So the top 6 impacts in offering a flexible membership solution. So why or what do we see as the most important elements with the clubs that we certainly support? And that's number 1, increased membership numbers. Having the option to allow an infrequent golfer to be part of the team, be part of club life, to potentially bring their own guests, to potentially bring their own partners to social events, really does bolster what is going on in club life. And we actually, as a company, we've got obviously very detailed information on the demographics, and the average flexible member with us is actually mid-40s, which is quite significantly lower than what we generally see across the industry. Higher revenue. So working a new flexible membership category in a successful way has a really positive effect because you're not impacting 5- and 7-day members. You're adding a revenue stream that enables you to potentially look at more projects on the golf course, to retain your membership subscription rates in their current form. There's so many different ways, and ultimately that revenue stream can be literally used in whichever way the club sees fit. But again, it's designed to be kind of symbiotic, because if one works really well, it will not affect the main membership revenue, and that's through your 5 and 7 days. Member retention and satisfaction. You're just providing more of a something for everyone membership category, and that can lead to better retention rates, just because you're offering different options to suit golfers of various lifestyles. We've certainly got a couple on that we support at the moment. One is, it's quite an interesting cross section. You might have a large manufacturing building close to your club. You might have a military base. Now, they potentially can have shorter secondment contracts, and that then may not lend itself to joining those venues. This particular venue, we see a lot of military personnel because they're on shorter secondment at this venue. So again, a little bit of something for everybody, and the club has benefited because they've offered more than just your traditional membership opportunity. Marketing, promoting flexible membership. I mean, flexible membership is a very modern way of offering a membership to a golf club, and as I've mentioned, we have definitely seen a younger demographic, and the younger demographic can obviously increase your club's visibility and appeal. Finally, a competitive edge, offering flexibility, looking at the region, looking at what you've got going on around you, who is doing what. That certainly, as I mentioned with the club in the north of Birmingham, it's given them a massive competitive edge. And for all intents and purposes, the club is looking like they are very proactive, and they are the first to market with this particular flexible membership scheme. So it gives you a competitive edge in a very competitive market, if done in the right way. And that's it from me. I've quite quite surprised, to be perfectly honest. I've got through the entire thing without coughing and spluttering. I haven't even taken a drink of water. But if there are any questions, obviously be more than happy to answer them now. I've also left my details on screen, and Karen has been very kind to forward some information on following this this webinar. So if anyone wants to ask a question now, or can get in touch with me directly. But appreciate your time. Thank you all very much for taking the time to listen to me. It's a long time, half an hour listening to my deep Welsh accent. So thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. I do have a couple of questions, but does anybody else have any questions before I wade in? No, looks like me asking all the questions then.
You're doing all the work today, Kat.
Well, as you know, we've already talked, and we're very interested in setting this up at Clevedon. One thing that always is asked is, how do you touched on it there about how do you overcome those who are already in the one box fits all? How do you stop them migrating to the flexible scheme and then losing out on your income? Have you got some good examples of that, and what clubs have done to ensure that that doesn't happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and absolutely one I get asked more than any other. I've got a really good example of a club in actually just south of the M4 corridor by Swindon. Now, they initially came on board, and they had set out the terms and conditions during the induction period. And one of the terms and conditions that they put in place was they could have full access to the tee sheet throughout 5 days in the week. Now, that's something that certainly we would advise people look at very strongly, because when you look at the utilization, we all know exactly who's playing on a Tuesday morning and a Thursday morning every single week. Now, that then becomes a potential problem, because they then can migrate. So the club actually input a limitation that they couldn't play before 11 o'clock on a Tuesday and a Thursday. So therefore that eliminated the at-risk group from moving into that category. So that was one element. The other element to a flexible membership offering is quite simply that if you have people who are playing on a regular basis, they will burn through that points allocation at the drop of a hat. And then it becomes completely not cost effective to actually join as a flexible member, because you'll be ending up topping up on a regular basis to the point where you'll probably have to get past your 5 and 7 day pricing. So yeah, that was a really effective one. We've had others which more sort of centered around the booking window. The booking window is such an important thing. You do not want your infrequent golfers taking up the frequent golfers' time. So we had a club who was able to, they started off by offering the same booking window. They very quickly realized that was then impacting. They had, I think, 10 members in the first couple of weeks, but they booked the same times as the full playing members. So what they actually did then was they quickly changed it so that the booking window was pretty much half it that was available for the 7 day. They had to honor the booking window of 7 days for those original 10 members they took on, because that was why they joined. But they then, all subsequent members from that point then couldn't book in those times. So it didn't impact that migration that you're talking about into that category.
Okay. And the other question I have is around advertising. So for this to be a success, it's got to be published. How is that done?
So we have an internal marketing team. So we do an awful lot of marketing within the support that we offer. And within the contract that we provide, we actually then have paid marketing, which is targeted generally within a 15-mile radius of the golf clubs that we work with, both through Google Analytics and various other platforms. Our social media channels are extensive, and we have a huge amount of followers. We have we have influencers who we have working with us as well. So there's an element of the modern way of advertising through social media. But most importantly, it's in conjunction with the golf clubs, because ultimately a golf club has various different channels in which they will advertise themselves. We provide the golf club, let's say, templates, let's say different story pages for use on Instagram, use on LinkedIn, use on Facebook. And for a club to then to start to use those elements is an incredibly important part of the initial setup of a flexible membership.
Just quickly then, in terms of from initial discussions with yourself and signing up to this, what length of time are we talking before it becomes live and accessible?
We will quote 1 month, because flexible memberships, certainly our support. I promised I wouldn't say play more golf after slide 2, but Karen's asked the question, so I'm going to throw it in there. So we actually link with all CRM providers. So we quote 4 weeks because we're trying to reduce the administration time for you. You do not want to do any manual bookings. You are busy enough. So we will link directly with the CRM providers, which is what takes the most amount of time. But we utilize those 4 weeks really effectively, because we do a pre-launch campaign. We'll actually put it out there that, Fairwood Park, who are situated not a million miles from me on the Gower here, they'll be coming soon. Memberships will be available from the 1st of April, whatever it might be. So we utilize that time effectively, and also start the integration process with the club. So we'll be on site, we'll be visiting, we'll be showing and training, so that once the floodgates open, hopefully, probably not the best phrase living in South Wales with the weather the way it is, but once the green light is given to the potential members, they then are ready and able to maximize it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Brilliant question. Thank you all.
Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Thank you. Okay, our next speaker, or our last speaker, is Amelia, who's on the call. I don't know if we just want to have a 2-minute comfort break, though. You might just want to get a drink and visit the WC. So perhaps we'll just have a 5-minute break and then we'll reconvene. I will keep the recording running, though, only because I'm a little bit worried that because I'm not directly hosting, I might lose the connection. So I'm going to keep it running. So make sure you're on mute. Otherwise, we'll all hear what you're talking about. And then we'll reconvene at 3:45 for Amelia's last presentation. Thank you. Okay, can you hear me, Amelia?
Can, loud and clear, yeah.
Good, good, good. Right. I think we'll make a start. Thank you very much for joining us today. So our last speaker today is Amelia Lewis from Players First. Many of us have been on the little road shows that have been going around the country with England Golf, and you've been presenting on that. So Amelia's here today just to talk us through customer experience management solution. So I'll let you explain all of that, and I'll pass you across to Amelia now. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Do I have permission to share screen?
Yeah. I'm getting clever at this. Make you a co-host. You need to accept that.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
So, bear with me. I've just lost my screen share. Can you see any slides on screen?
Yeah, we can see your actual presentation. Hello is the first slide.
All right. There we go.
Yeah.
Sorry, bear with me. I'm just having a couple screen issues here. Okay. So I'm not used to Zoom, so it's hard to should be. Right, let's try again, shall we? Okay. Hopefully you can see that again on screen. So, sorry, yes, I'm Amelia, I'm the regional manager at Players First, and I do need some technical support and help on Zoom, it seems. But thanks for organising the session today, Karen. It's been quite interesting to dip into the other presentations as well. I've learned quite a lot already, but my session today, what I'll do is just aim to wrap things up in about 20 minutes. I know that people have probably busy afternoons into evenings ahead, but just as a brief introduction to who I am, as I say, the regional manager across the UK and Europe and Australia for Players First, and my background has been very much in sports marketing, sponsorship, and also consultancy. So when it comes to data analytics and insights, I've got a wealth of experience, over a decade of experience there. But onto this session, and as Karen has mentioned, what I'd like to do is provide an introduction to something we believe is super important to golf, or specifically to golf, and that's around the customer experience management and how it can actually influence your golf club's member retention, and also broadly across the industry. I'll just give you a brief overview in case you don't know who we are or you've not been able to attend the governance workshops recently. But Players First, well, hopefully the logos on screen help tick a credibility box, but we are extremely passionate about what we do and some of the partnerships that we've forged across golf, and we work with over 2,500 golf clubs and facilities worldwide through our network of partners. But we also partner with organisations and associations like England Golf and like the GCMA, and that's to help deliver customer experience surveys as a method of collating feedback, tracking development, and interpreting what is important to golf clubs and venues, guests and customers. And over the past 10 years, we've collated millions of data points from lots of different types of surveys, from lots of different types of clubs, from lots of different types of golfers, and from many, many countries as well. And so it's with that data that we get really excited to be able to uncover trends, to write and publish articles, and to hopefully share learnings back to the industry. And presentations like today is just one way that we like to support our partners by doing that. So part one of today's session, I'm going to introduce the context of customer experience management across the golf business and why we believe that this is a really powerful tool that should be in the toolbox of all golf course managers and also the decision makers back at golf clubs. And I'll start with showing you what we believe to be a really, really important kind of concept around this closed loop process. Now, the closed loop process, as you can see on screen, is an infinite one. There's no endpoint. And this is also true for the available interactions between the club, your clubs, and your customers. And now closing the loop, it's a fundamental aspect of CXM, and it basically refers to the loop that is established by the continuous exchange of feedback and reaction between you and your customers. And the benefits of a well-defined customer loop process means that you can improve service recovery and reduce churn. So by having a very quick and efficient way of getting feedback and reacting to it, it provides an efficient way to listen to your customers and staff as well, if you use an employee survey. It can provide you with a better understanding of the root causes of customer loyalty or potential lack thereof, to drive tactical and strategic decisions, and then also enable you to continuously reassess, react, and rethink some of the experiences on offer. And then for effective measurement of that closed loop process, on screen you can see some of the interactions that your guest players or your green fee players might have with your club. And we call this the player journey or the customer journey. And it's understanding your player's journey across 5 main stages. That's your pre-arrival, the at-arrival stage, the playing of the golf, the post-round, and also any follow-up interactions. And these touch points that each of your players could potentially experience is as important to measure as the next. And you might have some specific facilities or venues on offer at your clubs. So this is just a general player journey that we can see the majority of clubs would have or guests would have with your clubs. And to give you an overview of how players first or at least surveys should be considered is that there are a number of surveys that should be identified based on the type of golfer or the type of or their journey into a golf club membership that exists. So on screen, you can see that there are 3 main members surveys that exist within our Players First suite. And we believe that it's important to understand the kind of holistic membership experience across your golfing groups. That might be your members, those that have been there for a number of years and continue to remain members. Your new members, so those that have recently joined, if you've been lucky enough to recruit recently. And then also your former members. So any members that may be leaving your club or expect to have left your club soon, it can be a good idea to capture the thoughts and reasons behind why they're actually giving up their membership. I think that probably links back to some of Bruce's ideas around understanding, okay, is it a time issue? And maybe it's just because there's not enough flexibility in the solutions that you offer for memberships at the moment. But these last 2 on the right-hand side, we also offer a guest survey solution and off-course. So that could be a range or simulator-specific solutions if your venue have those facilities. But we have these specific templates to allow you to service your specific customer needs. So they all become part of this overall customer experience management solution. And having a call recently with Karen, actually this week, we've been discussing a bit of a recap on some of the governance elements, but we wanted to introduce to you, if you're not already aware of quite a kind of business focused or customer facing way of recording overall experiences. And we use something called a Net Promoter Score to capture that overall experience satisfaction. And the likes of John Lewis and Amazon will all use the exact same calculation and the exact same question. So just to bring this to life a bit, the question is, how likely is it that you would recommend the golf club to friends, family, or colleagues? The scoring is from 0 up to 10. And any of your members or customers that provide a score of 0 to 6, they're known as detractors. Any giving a 7 or 8 are known as passives, and those giving a score of 9 or 10 out of 10 are referred to as promoters. Now, these detractors, which has a range between 0 and 6, you might think that's quite a severe or biased gap or number of responses. But actually, if I were to talk to someone about a restaurant visit I've just been to, and they asked me how it was, if I said, actually, it's probably a solid 9 or 10, I would probably be likely to go and book that restaurant at some point soon. If they suggested it was a 7-ish, well, I might book that restaurant, but I might also book a different restaurant instead. If someone said to me, oh, it was a 5 or 6, and went and gave me a number of reasons why it actually wasn't that satisfactory, then I am unlikely to book that same restaurant, and I would be more likely to try somewhere else. So as I say, this is a valid indicator of overall satisfaction with a customer-facing product. The calculation at the bottom of this slide, so the Net Promoter can be calculated by the percentage of promoters minus the percentage of detractors. This could give you a score of -100 up to +100. And believe me, some clubs do actually see a score of -1 or minus something, but we do also see scores in the +80s, the +90s as well. And the reason why I wanted to talk you through that calculation is because we use it as the main calculator of overall experience in all of our survey templates. And I'll come on to the reasons why we do that shortly. So just to touch on some of the uses of having a specific survey for a specific membership group, I wanted to share some insights into some Danish analysis into new members. And we did this analysis in 2021 from over 6,500 new members into Danish golf clubs. The new member survey is sent 8 weeks, automatically sent 8 weeks after a new membership registration. So all new members in Denmark will receive a survey to ask them about their joining experience, their integration experience, and their welcome. But what we've also managed to do in Denmark is align the customer experience questions with the business intelligence, which in this case is around the member retention. And the reason why we believe this is important is because it is allowing us to understand any link between the satisfaction of new members and the churn of new members, or the likeliness to renew and become more of a loyal member. Now, as golf club managers or in positions of decision-making at golf clubs, hopefully you can understand that this is a really, really useful and interesting point to understand how we can give a great experience to induce loyalty into those new members and hopefully allow them to continue to be a member for many, many years to come. So in this analysis, what we noticed is that from the 6,500 new members, we noticed a clear trend, which is represented by this blue dotted line. And it has an R number, which suggests that there is a big, huge, high correlation between the NPS score, which sits on this x-axis on the bottom, so -100 up to +100. And then we've also got this first year churn, which is the member retention. The new members giving a score of, or NPS score of, where we see -80, have a much, much higher percentage that they might churn as a member in future. If we look to the right-hand side of this graph, you'll see that the new members giving an NPS score of up to 100, between 80 and 90-ish, they have a much lower propensity to churn after their first year of membership. So I wanted to just set this as a framework to say, okay, we know that NPS can be a good indicator of loyalty, but the next step is to understand, okay, what does create a higher NPS score rather than these lower number scores here. So moving on now to some analysis that we've done across England. How do we clear the annotations? Okay. So on to some analysis that we've done within England, and this is around the member experience survey. And in the member experience survey, we ask golf clubs to, we ask golf members to say if they are likely to remain a member at the club in 2 years' time. So this indicates the loyalty that that member has to that golf club. So across the reasons that they might select, it's understood that there might be personal reasons that people are leaving. There might be club-specific reasons that the member might be leaving, or there might be additional reasons, or they might select they don't know, there isn't a specific reason for leaving. But you can see on screen that the vast proportion of members selected a club reason for any reason that they might be leaving the club at 67.3%. When we looked at the analysis to understand, okay, if that member has suggested only a club-related reason or only a personal-related reason, the club-related reasons are still coming out very, very strongly. So this is indicating that there might be reasons that the club could potentially improve in future to reduce the churn of members leaving the club. And obviously, if it is a club-related reason, then hopefully there can be efficiencies or investments or better communications that might improve that experience overall for the rest of the membership. And if I go on to the next slide, where we actually then understand the NPS score against those potential reasons for churning, again, it provides a really clear picture as to members that have a very high NPS score. So in this case, it's +43. Well, they're only suggesting that they're leaving because of personal reasons. So it might be a natural churn because they're aging or they're moving away or a change in work circumstance. They're reasons that the club couldn't necessarily affect in future. They're down to cited personal reasons. But when we look at the club-related reasons that members might leave, you can see that their overall NPS score is -45. So that's suggesting that members with a lower NPS are more likely to churn and more likely to churn because it's a club-related reason. So hopefully that gives you a bit of insight as to why we believe NPS is really, really important to track. So if you're not tracking or asking for feedback in the first place, starting a closed loop process around understanding reasons for potential churn can be a really easy way to understand, okay, potential reasons to encourage more loyalty in future, and for you to have a better onboarding experience for new members, a more welcoming experience for new members, to hopefully bring up their experiences over many, many years to come. So that was where I wanted to start with part one, just introducing the NPS score, introducing the closed loop process, and a bit around how clubs can start to manage and at least track customer experience. And that might be a number of ways. We are not the only survey solution, but if you're not already tracking experiences of members or new members, then we really would encourage you to do so and look into it. But after having a conversation with Karen, we did think that actually some of the recent analysis we did around the importance of good governance might be worth reflecting on in today's session if you didn't manage to make any of the workshops that were hosted in February. So the workshops, our input into those workshops came about from some analysis that we conducted with England Golf. But through our partnership with the GCMA, we looked at the results that came back from the GCMA members survey. And this was back in November 2022. And one comment that you can see on screen from that members survey is that this anonymous golf club GCMA member suggested that actually they wanted to know more about statistical information on the whole of the golf industry to help general managers understand how they are faring within the golf industry and with other clubs, which is really, really relevant to the analysis that we did for England Golf and also the input to the good governance blueprint, because we actually looked at national trend data from 2022, which sat around 50,000 survey responses. So I would encourage you, if you don't already have your hands on a copy of this Blueprint for Good Governance guide, to reach out to your local CSO, and I think they're also available online to download, but it's a really, really useful resource to help your board, to help the managers understand how they can get on a journey to good governance. But onto the input that we were able to provide in terms of this national industry-based analysis. As I said, we had 50,000 responses from member experience surveys across England in 2022. You can see on the left-hand side of the screen is a smaller priority map, which I'll start with initially. This priority map is showing the main service areas, which are the service areas that sit within the members survey. So we've got each dot represents a service area that might be the course, practice facilities, lessons, the clubhouse, etc. But over on the right-hand side, you'll see that the club in general is highlighted. Now, the average score for the club in general sits at about 75. That's the average satisfaction of members for the club in general service area. But you'll also see on the bottom, this is the x-axis, which denotes the impact on the net promoter score of those members. And this is the high category. And in fact, the club in general is the highest service area that could impact a member's overall experience. So by that, I mean that if this was your club's priority map and you saw that the club in general is the most important service area to your members, we would suggest that because of correlation that sits behind the priority map, me as the club manager would make a concerted effort to understand what it is around the club in general my members are wanting to see an improvement on or have a lower satisfaction level with particular areas. Now, the bigger map behind it, this priority map, shows the actual questions or the touch points within the club in general for 50,000 members. And you'll see highlighted that these touch points are all relating to governance areas. And they're also sitting furthest right on the x-axis within the club in general categories. So if this was my club and these were my member results, I can see that there's 2 lower scores here at the bottom. My club's board of directors management committee listens where members make new ideas, and also the club's management listens where members make suggestions, new ideas. So instantly I know that there might be a problem with either promoting ways that the club are listening to members, or the club aren't naturally encouraging members to be able to provide feedback. Now, I've highlighted a score of 62 for this bottom one, the club's board of directors listens, because actually in the whole member survey of about 150 questions, there's only 2 lower scores that exist in this analysis that we did. One of them was the office opening hours with a score of 62 as well. But the lowest score by far was the bunkers, which had a score of 53. But what that's suggesting is that, okay, these low scores that exist in the club in general are worthy of looking at further analysis to understand what we can do as a club to improve them, because we have a clear indicator that if we do make improvements, it's likely to raise the experiences of our members and their overall satisfaction being at the club. And we know that that's important because, I'm just going to skip a slide here. We know that it's important to look at these measures because members are more likely to remain loyal to clubs that achieve high scoring governance scores. And we also know that members are more likely to churn from clubs that achieve low scoring governance scores. So this has come out, as I say, from some national top line analysis that we did specifically for the governance blueprint. And regardless of the way that we did the analysis, the governance questions were still coming out as the most important or the most influential to a member's overall experience. So I don't want to kind of dwell too much on it. I will share these slides with Karen as well, so she could forward them on to the group if you want to reflect on it. But we did pull together a short case study to give you an example of a club in Kent, West Sussex, a 9-hole course, launched a survey in February 2023 with a response rate of 51%. And just to give you an example of a club and how they would see the scores within the results view, you can see a couple of different results examples. One is the NPS score for Holtai, which is a score of 66, which ranked Holtai Golf Club at number 14 in the national benchmark of 144 clubs. As a 9-hole benchmark, Holtai sat second with their score of 66 across 9 other 9-hole clubs. And when we look at loyalty, which I've mentioned before, actually Holtai over-index in their members that would actually remain loyal to the club with a score of 64% versus an average score of about 57%. So they have a high NPS and they have loyal members. But how does this link to the governance questions? Well, again, on the screen now, you'll see a couple of priority maps from Holtai Golf Club. And I've highlighted by the service area map, which is the one that's sitting on the left-hand side, that their club in general score of 87 is also the highest impactful service area on their members as well. So it follows that national trend that I showed you before. But it does have a higher average score. So actually the club are doing well at servicing the most important areas and giving their members a good satisfaction there. The right-hand graph are the touch points within the club in general service area. And again, you might notice, or you might see some of these that you've seen before. The board of directors is efficient. The board of directors listens when members make suggestions and new ideas. And also the club's management listens when members make suggestions and new ideas. So you can now see that their scores are actually elevated above what we saw at the national benchmark. And that link is that between the performance of the overall satisfaction and the performance of the governance service areas is very, very strong. But as a club, knowing this, that I am supporting and servicing my members in the right areas is something that I need to maintain. And I can do that by tracking the development. But I can also do that by looking at the comments that the members have provided, because there's always nuggets of gold in there to say, okay, how can we do it better? And hopefully the club will want to continue to improve those areas that are important to their members as well. So from a club-facing design of the results, hopefully that might pique your interest into wanting to know a bit more about how your governance scores are compared to the trend, but also other areas as well that might be really important to your club, which could be the course, likely to be the course, in fact, and other areas around socials and welcomes, etc. So I won't go into any more detail, but there might be time for questions if anyone is still there. I mean, if not, what I would really like off the back of this call, if it's okay to ask for it, Karen, is if there are any topics around data or in the industry that we can help provide analysis or articles. We like to deliver what we know is being talked about within the industry. So any input, any feedback, any suggestions that anybody has, we would love to hear from you, so that we can actually deliver some relevant content that will be of interest to the group. So my contact details are on screen now, and also, as I say, I can share these slides with Karen to send on to the group, and feel free to reach out to me independently. But I've got time for questions if anyone has any, but otherwise, thank you for your engagement, and I hope that it's been useful and there's been some ideas that you've taken away today.
Yeah, thank you, Amelia. Very interesting. And it's always interesting that a club is able to benchmark themselves against other clubs, because we all become so insular in our own little world. And if you have the information from other clubs, it just puts a whole different perspective on things. I don't know if anyone's got any questions. I've just got one. I know that you're working very closely with England Golf at the moment, and there are some opportunities through England Golf, providing that there is a criteria that's followed, that there is accessible or accessibility to your system via England Golf. Can you just explain how that works, please?
Yes, certainly. So through the partnership with England Golf, if a club is eligible, so they are Safe Golf registered, which I think all clubs are, they are working or have a Women in Golf Charter, and also if they have an ED&I policy in a certain format according to England Golf, then the club would be eligible to access the membership suite of surveys free for 12 months. And then also those that want to continue with a renewal have the opportunity to access a heavily subsidised or reduced price for that. So if you wanted to check eligibility, I'm happy to share that with you as well, so you can check that online. But in the first case, if you had an interest after this call, would be to reach out to your England Golf club and county support officer, who will then be able to talk you through whether or not you meet the eligibility, and if you don't, just the next steps to be able to meet that. From what I hear, it's the ED&I policy is quite easy to to get across the line, and hopefully the safe golf is something that is already done in majority of clubs.
Okay, thank you. I think this recording is going through the GCMA nationally, so hopefully you'll get some questions from other members of the association. So thank you, Amelia. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Thank you to everyone for taking part this afternoon. I've got to rush off now, unless there's any other questions. We'll close it here now. I'm not sure what people think. There weren't so many people involved on the webinar as I was hoping for, but I think this is definitely a way of putting together some short webinars of an educational need for people that makes it easy for people to dip in and out of when they want to. So we'll probably do a few of these as we go through the year, rather than a business day when it's so tricky to try and get everybody on site in the same place. So thank you, everybody. Let's hope it dries up a little bit for Easter particularly. You all have a good Easter. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care all.
Bye.
Thanks, Karen.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.